Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, I want you to grab an ice cold Coca-Cola or whatever you have, just the most sugary corn syrup laden soda you can find, and chug it throughout the hour, because these may become a collector's item, believe it or not. But to understand the corn syrup and the trans fats and the salts in the restaurant and what now Bloomberg wants to do in New York, well, you have to leave this here in the present. Then you have to go back to the collapse. But to understand the collapse, you have to go back to the anti-war movement. Then you have to go back to the Home Energy Assistance Program in '81 and to the food stamps and LBJ. And you have to go back to the McCarthy era and what was happening in the McCarthy era and the communists, what happened there? What was that really all about? And you have to go back to Truman and FDR and the Social Security Act. But to really understand it, what you have to do is meet this gentleman in 1901, Theodore Roosevelt, a guy that every conservative should really look into because he's probably the best guy to really learn the lessons from. But to understand him, you have to know him. George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw, the playwright. How is knowing George Bernard Shaw going to help us understand what Bloomberg is doing with Coca-Cola? Oh, well, grab your Coke and try to grab a smile and come along. Hello, America. Last night I showed you the progressives. Actually, this is more than the progressives. This is the beginning of the progressive movement. These are the Fabian socialists here. What they are capable. I showed you video I'm not going to show you tonight that I think is just horrifying. I had so much mail last night. People said, oh my gosh. Actually, many people said it was the most frightening show that we have done. I can relate. I remember the first day that I found the Fabian socialists, and you're like, how did you not know about any of this? How do you not know about what these people have done and what they're capable of doing and how they relate to today? I showed you how they are seeking to mold a new world. Look at, here they are, molding a new world. They're hammering the world into remolding it nearer to their heart's desire. And the flames, fanning the flames to set the world on fire so they can shape it. Shape a new world through the destruction of the current one. And they're all coming in the cover of darkness. And here's their logo, right here. There's their shield. What is it? The Fabian Socialist? It's right here. It is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what it is. Now, this is their idea. This isn't mine. This is why I have had a problem. And I say, look, you want to have this discussion? Let's just have this discussion. Let's have it out in the open. But that's not what they do. These are the roots of modern progressivism, the Fabian Society, the doctrine of inevitability of gradualism. What does that mean? It means you just take things step by step by step before it's inevitable. My son, I drink Coke Zero. Sorry about that, Coke. Oh, now you're going to get all kinds of mail. How can you make a product drunk, drinking, was drunk by that monster Glenn Beck? I drink Coke Zero, and my son comes up and he'll say, can I have a sip? One. He'll have a sip, and he'll come back. Can I have a sip? All right. Before you know it, he's got the can and he's just chugging the whole thing. Gradualism. It's inevitable. He's going to drink it. Because I'm weak. And I'm not necessarily paying attention, and before you know it, he's had the whole can. And then I'm getting yelled at by Mom. All right. I could say this 1,000 times and it still won't be enough. Progressives do not look at the world the same way you do. Who has as their logo a wolf in sheep's clothing? When they gain control, it will turn ugly. Not because they're evil, just because they look at things radically different than you do. You saw their own words last night. Man is not meant to be controlled. Man is meant to be free. But progressives and progressives, like I said, Theodore Roosevelt and both parties, and Fabian socialists believe that man cannot be free. They must tell you what to do because you're too stupid. They are doing it for the common good. They are not doing it necessarily with malice in their hearts. Man cannot be told what to eat, drink, drive, or say. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. But they don't believe in the Creator, and that is the problem. When people get a God complex and try to be the bearer of certain rights, it ends poorly every time. The nudge, while often well-intended, always turns into a shove. Look, I know you get this. But I am trying my best to give you information to help you wake your neighbors up. I don't know what else I can do. But the way of life in America is about to change. And that's not a good thing. Our corruption needs to change. Our treatment of each other, our coarseness, the things that all of us have contributed in this society, including me, our coarseness, has to change. It has to. Great things can happen in America when people believe, and when they engage, and when they work together. But bad things happen when people don't believe that bad things can happen because we're America. We're entering a time when the leaves are changing. Let's look at the leaves of the tree. Are we going into winter, or are we looking for green shoots? Is spring around the corner? Remember, if you looked at that stained glass window, they had to put the globe into the fire. See the globe? See the color? It's not blue. It's hot. It's on fire. That's what you do with an anvil. You make it hot, you fan the flames with the bellows, you make it hot, and then you can pound it. So what are their goals and what are the conditions? How are they fanning the flames? Well, let's look at the flames that are being fanned right now. You have to have a struggling economy, got that. High unemployment, sure. High dependence on government. 41 million people now are on U.S. food stamps. 41 million people. You have to have uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And fear. Alan Greenspan actually had the cojones to come out and say, it's fear that is undermining the recovery. If we just knew the truth, everything would be peachy. Really? Well, the government wouldn't even tell us the truth on the oil spill. Why would they tell us the truth, for the love of Pete, on the dollar? I'm not sure what Alan Greenspan is reading. I want to thank Alan for stopping by after he caused the mess that we're in now, or helped cause it. Alan actually was on television at one point saying, I don't even know what a CDO is. I mean, I couldn't even understand it. Oh, really, Alan? Thank you. Why don't you zip it for a while? Maybe he's reading the White House blog and he's getting all this good news and all of these things that, hey, everything's great, but people are being scaredy cats. Well, I think if you read the newspaper and you say, we are great, you're in denial. I was reading businessinsider.com, told you about this yesterday. They had a list, a bunch of troubling signs on the economy. You don't have to go and you just read the front page of theblaze.com, foxnews.com, the Drudge Report. Just read it. Just read it. And you can see the signs if you care to look. I've told you before, what you need to do is look at what smart money is doing. My grandfather told me that when he lived through the Depression, the rich got richer. If you had money, you were okay. If you had a job, you were okay. Well, that implies that there were some people in the know. That should give you a hint. What are they doing? Well, they certainly know what is coming before you do. This article shows where the smart money is going, along with other troublesome signs. And here are just a few of them. Corporate insiders are fleeing the U.S. stock market, as is George Soros. Zero Hedge reports that insiders are selling to buying 2,341 to 1. Now, what does that mean? Do you remember Ken Lay at Enron? He was at shareholder meetings saying, "You've got to buy, everything is great." And meanwhile, he's selling everything. Well, this isn't much different. The officers and the directors of the companies are selling their stocks, over 2,000 of them, for every one that they're buying. What does that tell you? And I'm talking about major corporations, not ones that you think are like unstable. The uber wealthy, and I'm talking again about spooky dude George Soros, billionaire wealthy, they are buying tons of gold, literally. According to Reuters, UBS is recommending top-tier clients hold 7 to 10% of their assets in precious metals like gold. JP Morgan just reopened their gold vault, which had been closed since 1990 amid soaring demand and prices for gold. Many are predicting that gold will start to become scarce. By the way, I'd just like to ask, Wiener, are you investigating UBS or JP Morgan? Because you should, because they're recommending buying gold too. Or are they in on it too? Not coincidentally, gold hit a day-high record of more than $1,342.60 on Tuesday. Silver, 30-year high. Platinum is at its highest since mid-May. Copper closed at a 26-month high. Also, according to Reuters, the U.S. Mint has run out of a type of highly pure gold coin that it had been selling amid record high prices of gold. But the mint is out. The United States Mint has depleted its inventory of 2010 American Buffalo 1-ounce gold bullion coins. I have a hunch it isn't the demand of the popularity of the Buffalo this season. There is an unusually high option volume right now, which is an indicator that insiders know the leaves are changing, and they choose options over actually buying stock. The uber wealthy are also putting down large options against betting against the S&P 500. What does that mean? It means the smart money is saying the market is going to tank this month. Now, I'm hoping they're wrong, and a lot of people, don't listen just to the market. Listen to your gut. I'm just telling you what is happening here. Earlier this week, Japan cut interest to almost zero and set up a 5 trillion yen quantitative easing fund. What's that? That's what you do when you want to increase the money supply. Printing. The risk there, of course, is hyperinflation. Here at home, the Federal Reserve in New York and the Federal Reserve in Chicago are begging the Fed to do more stimulus. The New York Fed chair said the current outlook on jobs and inflation is unacceptable. And that means another $1 trillion in stimulus. I heard some clown running for office this week actually come out in Chicago and say, this is such a myth that we're running a deficit and we can't handle this debt. Are you kidding me? Another $1 trillion in stimulus is being proposed now. Add that to the $787 billion stimulus of Barack Obama and the George Bush $700 billion TARP bailout and the $17.4 billion auto bailout. Current national debt, over $13 trillion. And Barack Obama by himself has added almost $2 trillion to that himself. By the way, I think it was Harvard University, or is it BU? I think it was Harvard University said that the real debt, the liabilities, is $200 trillion. All of the money on earth is about $50 trillion. At the end of last month, the Feds announced $30 billion bailout of the U.S. wholesale credit union system. But they said, don't worry about it, because it's all backed up, get this one, by $50 billion in troubled assets inherited from failed institutions. So we're banking that the troubled assets that caused the other institutions to fail are somehow or another going to save these troubled assets for the... Does that make any sense to you? The dollar is continuing its slow decline. And every time I hear that, I think of spooky dude George Soros saying, the dollar needs a managed decline. Really? Does it?